and we are at the Little Theater with Trio East. And from left to right on your radio dial, we have Jeff Campbell on bass, Rich Thompson on the drums, and Clay Jenkins on trumpet. And the new album is called For the Love. And congratulations, Rich, on a new release, on another great project.
Oh, thanks, man. But I have to congratulate all these guys because Trio East is three people, and without any single person, it always feels so much different. I'd also like to congratulate my wife who produced that CD for us.
Absolutely. A lot of the titles are originals, but also I love you guys took tunes from Sonny Rollins, Thelonious Monk, which a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't take the music of Ornette Coleman, and the way you guys redid it and reorganized it and arranged it is so cool and so fresh. Whose idea was it?
I think that was Rich's idea, but we've been doing it for years. You're talking about Happy House. Yeah, and it turned out to be a nice feature for him. He plays such nice brushes, so it turned out to be really a nice feature for Rich. So we've enjoyed playing that through the years.
Rich, why have you chosen that tune? Because of all the tunes people use for that, for Ornette's pieces, nobody actually uses Happy House. So I'm cool. So glad that you guys chose that piece.
I think it's because it kind of speaks to the trio in a lot of ways. The melody is very sporadic, and so it leaves these natural spaces for me to come in and fill up those spaces. And Clay does that when he solos already, and so does Jeff. There's such a simpatico between the three that when you actually brought that tune in, says, let's try this tune, let's see what we can make out of this. And that's a lot of what happens in our arranged jazz standards, is somebody will bring it in, and we'll figure out a way to craft that piece.
Speaking with Jeff Campbell, Rich Thompson, and Clay Jenkins of Trio East here on Jazz 90.1. Clay, you said something a few years ago. We did an interview. You were talking about really the rise of the conservatory training happened because of the demise of big bands, because that was really for many, many decades is how young people learned their craft, through the oral tradition of big bands, through Woody Herman and Maynard Ferguson and Buddy Rich and Count Basie. But really what you guys are doing now is bringing that music to the next generation. How can we keep this going? Because, I mean, there's so many things we have to worry about, but for as educators, how do you keep the passion to teach this music to the next generation?
Well, we struggle with that a good bit. We have to analyze that and think about it a lot. And we're finding that our students find their way and find their place, even though there's not the same kind of jobs. They'll go out and they'll do things that, like ship gigs, cruise ships, and they'll do some of the big bands that are still out, but they're not as romantic as the bands. It's more like the Glenn Miller bands and things like that. So they're a little bit more of the ghost band thing. But they'll go out and get the education and the experience, and then they'll move to New York or Los Angeles, and they're finding their slot. So we are encouraged by that. I know I am. It's kind of daunting to see yourself trying to make a living doing this, but they seem to be doing okay.
Well, I think also, just to speak to that, the way we keep our passion for teaching those kids is just by performing. I mean, Clay goes out and performs with Clayton Hamilton Jazz Orchestra, and I go out and perform with the Byron Stripling Quartet, and Jeff goes out and performs anything from the Village Vanguard Monday night in New York to Dennis McCrell and quartets with Reggie Thomas and things like this. So we're constantly not only performing with each other, but we're all going out and performing, and we can bring back that passion and that excitement to kids because we're still doing that.
You can catch the passion later on at 7 o'clock and after 9 here at the Little Theater. Trio East, again, Jeff Campbell, Clay Jenkins, and Rich Thompson, thank you so much for taking jazz further.